folks, and we should know, I would think, probably after Thanksgiving.
President-elect Donald Trump's businesses and whether they present a conflict of interest. Now, the Washington Post reports foreign diplomats could be hoping to curry favor with Trump by staying in his D.C. hotel. At a sales pitch event held specifically for diplomats last week, one attendee said much of the discussion among them was over, quote, how are we going to build ties with the new administration? In an interview with Think Progress, Richard Painter, the chief ethics counsel to President George W. Bush, says any effort to gain favor looks like a gift which violates the Constitution. And Richard joins us now to talk about what he wrote. Thank you so much for your time.
Well, thank you.
So, Richard, you've got this quote from an Asian diplomat at this event at the Washington, D.C. Trump Hotel saying, why wouldn't I stay at this hotel blocks from the White House so I can tell the new president I love your new hotel? Isn't it rude to come to a city and say, I'm not staying there, I'm staying at your competitor?
Well, this is one of the many ways in which foreign government money is going to get into the Trump business empire if President Trump chooses to retain ownership of these hotels and many properties around the globe. Whether it's going to be foreign diplomats competing for renting the most expensive suites in his hotels, or the bank loan that's outstanding from the Bank of China and how that's going to get worked out, or sovereign deals with sovereign wealth funds. This is a big problem. And then we also have the problem of protecting his properties abroad. He has properties all over the world, in some countries where there are terrorist threats. And who's going to pay for all of that? We saw the enormous expense of protecting the Trump Tower in New York City. Well, who's going to deal with that in other countries? Is that going to be at the expense of the United States government? Probably not. Probably the foreign governments are going to have to pay for that, too. And this is a serious national security threat to have the president have personal properties all over the globe. This is something that I think he ought to seriously consider whether he is doing the right thing by trying to hold on to his business empire while serving as president of the United States, when he can sell it for an initial public offering for cash and take the billions of dollars and put it in a blind trust and then go about the business of being an effective president.
Well, Richard, we see that this president-elect has shown no interest, zero interest in what you just proposed as an option for him. His daughter was in a meeting with Japan's prime minister. She's supposed to head the company in this blind trust that we've yet to see an outline or more specifics on. But the bottom line is you're looking at, according to the Washington Post analysis, some 111 Trump companies that have done business in 18 countries and territories across the globe. This goes into some of the criticism of pay-for-play that Donald Trump alleged toward the Clinton Foundation. And we're not even scratching the surface of just Trump Tower alone. There were reports of, Chinese bank investments in that building, and he is talking about negotiating or perhaps some trade issues with China. So what happens after the inauguration? What are we looking at here?
Well, I think he has to sell the business empire here, and he could raise billions of dollars in cash through a public offering. And if he doesn't, we're going to be hearing about this story for the next 4 years. And there will be efforts by foreign governments to put money into the Trump business empire. And that is, as I've said repeatedly, a serious problem under the Emoluments Clause of the Constitution. And then we're going to have this national security issue of protecting the Trump business holdings around the globe from terrorist attacks. And so far, all I'm hearing with respect to the war on terror is ridiculous ideas like this so-called Muslim registry, which is unconstitutional. We're going to have a Christian registry I have to sign up for and a Jewish registry. We don't do that in the United States. Why don't we do practical things, like not have the president of the United States own vulnerable properties all over the world, and then be dependent on foreign governments for their protection.
Let me just go back to what happened this past weekend. The New York Times is reporting details of a meeting that happened last week between Donald Trump and 3 Indian business partners who are building a Trump-branded luxury hotel in Mumbai. One of the developers told the Times it was simply a 2-minute congratulatory conversation, but an Indian newspaper reported it is a business meeting which included discussions with the Trump family about the possibility of doing more real estate deals in the future. What do you believe Congress needs to do at this point or be looking at?
Well, I think the first thing we need to realize is that all this rhetoric about retreating from globalization has been an enormous hoax. I mean, Mr. Trump himself has made a lot of money off deals all over the world, in India and many, many other countries. So there's a complete disjuncture between what he's said to the American people and what he himself is doing. But now he has a job to do, and he needs to do it free of conflict of interest. And Congress needs to pressure him to sell off his business holdings, put the proceeds in a blind trust, so he can be an effective president.
All right. Thank you very much, Richard. It was a great pleasure having you on with your insight. Thank you. Next up.